Undertale, the friendly RPG where nobody has to die. The game all about your choices on whether or not you want to be a merciful hero or an immortal serial killer, now has a sequel called Deltarune with the tagline, "Your choices don't matter." And frankly, this makes Deltarune a much better sequel to Undertale than if it played anything like the original. In other words, I, Mr. Etra from Etra Games, am going to break down how removing choice in this Undertale sequel is how it tries to make you a better person. And no, I'm not simply saying it's a better sequel because retreading the same ground would be boring or anything, even though that is true. It's more than that. In this video, I kind of want to prove that Deltarune isn't really a sequel or spiritual successor to Undertale, but rather the extension and completion of Undertale's core ideas of morality and gameplay. But what exactly do I mean by removing choice, moral gameplay, and making players better people? Well, to explain, I'm going to have to show you how to play Undertale in the way developer Toby Fox wants you to play. This will all seem a bit off topic and confusing at first, but hang with me. As noted, Undertale's central selling point is that you can either kill or spare any monster you meet, and whether you kill or spare certain bosses, the story will change based off your choices. But regardless, you get one of three main endings. The pacifist ending, where you don't kill anyone, the neutral ending, where you may not be a serial killer, but at least you haven't committed genocide, and the genocide ending, which is pretty self-explanatory. Now, you may already know about all these routes, but what if I told you the game's creator, Toby Fox, conditions you to play these paths in a certain order? Specifically, neutral, pacifist, then genocide route. Seriously, pause the video right now and find me a single Let's Player who didn't play Undertale in this exact order. So how does Toby Fox take a meandering player and turn them into a hero who then slaughters everyone? Well, it all lies in the gameplay of Undertale, and the initial influence or conditioning of the game's advertising. As stated before, the game calls itself a friendly RPG where no one has to die, with a happy little flower enemy in the middle. And 30 seconds in, the flower tries to kill you. Stating in this world, it's kill or be killed. The kindly Toriel saves you, saying that the underground is a dangerous place. And although she teaches you how to spare opponents' lives, she never explicitly states you should. She simply tells you to stall until she deals with the enemy, and then she abandons you. Meaning that if you do try to spare an enemy, there is no one around to save you anymore. The advertising and the harsh reality of the underground gets across the message that sure, you can spare enemies, but it's not very optimal. And this message shines through perfectly in the gameplay, where it takes much longer to spare enemies than kill them, which means there is a higher chance you'll be defeated since there are more turns in the battle. On top of this, you don't get experience points from battle if you spare enemies, so you don't grow powerful enough to defend yourself from more and more powerful foes. And when you're trying to solve puzzles but keep getting attacked by randomly encountered enemies, you will note that this will go a whole lot faster if you just fought back for once. And even if you think you're the nicest person in the world who would never harm a fly, there's a whole psychological side to this called the dominant strategy working against you. It states that if one path or decision is the most optimal, it will be chosen regardless of how enjoyable the other decisions may be. With all of this, there is a high chance a player will kill at least one enemy in their first playthrough. Actually, there's a higher chance they'll kill a whole bunch of enemies, to the point where they may not attempt to spare any characters, because at least in the first area, there is literally no reason to do so. Undertale prevents you from killing all the time in the neutral run by attempting to make you feel guilty for your actions after the first area. Townspeople start to react to the deaths of their friends, and Flowey the Flower from earlier specifically tries to make you feel remorse for your actions, to the point where even if you reload a save to spare a boss, he calls you out on reloading a save to try to erase your sins. These two conflicting messages, one in gameplay and one in narrative, adds up to the conclusion that you are not playing the game correctly. Which, actually, you are. Toby Fox just implies you're playing the game wrong after the fact he made killing everything the dominant strategy. And every ending in the neutral run tells you things could have been better. All this leads the player to, quote, play the game correctly on a second playthrough. Yet, if sparing was such a terrible decision before, how does Toby Fox make a run of only sparing more enjoyable than the neutral run, which presented the exact same option? Well, first of all, since you know the solutions to each and every puzzle and where to go from your first run, you won't run into as many monsters in the underground, because you already know where to go and what to do. And on top of that, there's a high chance you will encounter a wider variety of monsters, because different sets of enemies appear in each set of rooms. And on top of that, these monsters are no longer frustratingly difficult, but engaging, because you've retained your skills from the past run. This leads to a natural incline of the difficulty curve from the first run, instead of having a giant leap in difficulty like last time, if you ever tried to spare them. All that, and the fact that you're not being guilted every 30 seconds, makes the second playthrough, at least in my opinion, much more enjoyable than the first. And if you boot up the game after finishing the cheerful pacifist ending, you get a 2.5-minute speech from Flowey, who begs you to stop playing and let the game's characters live in peace. I don't have a proper psychological comparison for this, but at this point Flowey is simply saying, hey, this giant red button right here, don't press it. Also, side note, I'm intentionally losing all of my memories, so I won't guilt you if you press it or anything, just don't please. Okay, bye! Well, what is a player who just fell in love with this game's world supposed to do? Well, they're going to complete the game, no matter what it takes. And that is how Toby Fox has players take a 180 from the hero to the villain. Even though this is what Toby Fox wants the player to do, he isn't exactly trying to advocate for genocide. So he takes what made the pacifist run fun and reverses everything. The dominant strategy in the genocide run is simply to walk in circles in the very first room of an area for 20 minutes, so you encounter the least variety of enemies. You also become so powerful that the game is mind-numbingly easy, unlike the natural difficulty curve of the first. Oh wait, did I say it was easy? Because nope! The genocide run has not just difficult, but punishing bosses that make battles so unfair, it isn't even fun to play. But that's the point. Death and genocide are not really supposed to be fun. There are punishing bosses because you are supposed to be punished for your decisions, but you will stay determined until the very end, where your soul itself is taken, with the spine-chilling words, "When were you ever the one in control?" Think back to the last time you were actually making strategic decisions on whether to kill something in Undertale. Not for the last 2/3 of the game. You were making your own choices in the neutral route, but now you have been influenced to choose a set path, so you would be taught the lesson that maybe, just maybe, murder isn't so great. All this finally leads us to Deltarune, the game where, unlike Undertale, your choices don't matter. Attacking and sparing take the same amount of turns this time, and yield the exact same rewards, and you always run into the same amount and variety of enemies, since they are now on the world map instead of randomly spawning, meaning you won't run into more enemies if you are stuck on a puzzle. The only difference your actions make is a bit of dialogue in the ending, and some dialogue in battles. Yet unlike the genocide and pacifist route, these bits of dialogue don't even tell you more about the characters or lore of the world, meaning the choice to kill or spare is pretty pointless. A theme that is pushed from the very beginning of the game and is literally spelled out for you, but you are still supposed to believe your choice matters, at least until the first major boss. See, Toby Fox specifically states that this game is intended for those who completed Undertale, or the ones who have learned that, hey, killing isn't fun, but pacifism is. In fact, Fox explicitly makes a character say, if you are nice to everyone, things will turn out better. Which is true with the small dialogue changes, but I believe it is intentionally misdirecting, like the EXP counter that exists but doesn't do anything, and being forced to spare a certain boss, which is something that only happened in the pacifist route of Undertale, and multiple instances of monsters talking about one another, which would seem like monsters whose dialogue would change from your actions in Undertale. This leads me to believe that Toby initially wants you to play like a pacifist, Because if you just started out this game killing, the opening dungeon with character conflict would not be nearly as engaging. But then our pacifist player beats the almighty Chaos King, and one of the main characters say, "Sometimes you just have to fight," implying once more that the player is playing the game wrong. Soon after experimenting, they'll find that the choices they made didn't matter. So the question presented in Deltarune, the question that the entirety of the Undertale series has been leading up to, is what now? Now that you have the ability to choose freely again and are not making decisions based off an ending, what will you do? Well, most likely, you'll stay on the pacifist route. Not out of selfishness this time, that is, oh, I'll be nice to these monsters so I can see the best ending, but instead, the player has learned to find pacifism more enjoyable. But if they didn't go through the whole Undertale experience, they may just kill because it still is slightly faster because there is less dialogue. It seems like Toby Fox did all this influencing and conditioning to attempt to teach something to the player and try to make them a better person who doesn't initially want to murder everyone they meet. At least in video games. Now, the game has only released its first chapter, so I can't be 100% sure this was Deltarune's intention. But at least for now, that is the message it conveys to me. A beautiful story about using gameplay to teach morality. Will now be discarded and entirely ignored in the next episode of Review of Design, because I want to show you why your parents and other people who don't know how to play games should play Deltarune. Just Deltarune, no Undertale. If that video is out, click right here to watch it, and if it's not, consider subscribing to be notified of that and more future episodes of Review of Design. As always, thank you for watching, have a wonderful day, and I will catch you all next time.